Hey, so we've just done a live session on how to go from interview to job offer. We had it in my Facebook group, International Career Seekers. It's a free group where I do trainings usually every Thursday. So if you're not in that group, make sure you have requested to join so you can get notified. And I want to share with you the key takeaways from our session. Number one is most people think about interviews all wrong. So they have this vision of getting a job, right? Applying for a job where it's very much this kind of old school way where number one, you go, you scroll the job boards, you see what's out there, you find a position, you decide if you're qualified enough for it, and then you decide, okay, I think I might be up to I might have most of the qualifications I need. I perhaps stand a chance, I'm gonna apply. And then you do your CV, you do your cover letter, you send them in, and then most of the time you get that rejection message or lack thereof. But if you're really truly lucky, HR, examines your application and they say, wow, this person sounds impressive on their resume. They've made it to the first round of interviews. Let's invite them over. And then you go to the interview and there's this panel and whatever, and then they ask you their questions and you try to prove yourself and answer as best you can. And then if you pass that test, maybe they invite you for a second interview, or perhaps they then offer you a position if you were the best candidate out there and you got the most points. And it's almost like people are expecting to be graded the way you might have been graded in school, like a report card, and then the best candidate with the most qualifications wins. But that is not the reality. We've talked before on my, right here on my feed about that shine factor, right? If you scroll down, you will see that post. And the shine factor is basically about more than just what's on paper. What is your experience? What do you have to offer? What are your qualifications? There's so much more to getting a job than that. And so when you're doing your interview, you have to remember that the interview is just one piece of how you're presenting yourself. And it's not about competing against other people and giving the best answers, and the person who gives the best answers is going to get the job. You might give better answers than someone else and they get the job. And then you're stuck there wondering, why did they get the position when my answers were better, when my qualifications were better? I don't understand. And this is where a lot of people are forgetting to look at themselves as a candidate in a more holistic way, so that you have a preeminence when you want to get to the interview. So this is the biggest thing I want you to take away, which is that you want to build preeminence before you even get to that interview, because you don't want to be starting from scratch, preferably when you get there. Imagine the difference between someone who shows up for an interview, and this is what happens most of the time, by the way. They have no idea who you are. They might not even have reviewed your CV. Like oftentimes someone has sorted through the CVs and picked you, but then the people interviewing you either have not seen your CV or really briefly skimmed it, or they did read it. Maybe they're even the ones who selected you, but then they're so overwhelmed with all the other candidates and then all their job deliverables. And oh my God, now we have these interviews coming up today and I'm so tired and I didn't have my coffee. Who is this person? And then you show up and they're like, oh, who is this? And then I've had clients tell me they've had interviews like this before where the interviewers are just like the worst interviewers, and they show up with no idea what they're doing. We're just completely disinterested, right? And so this is not what you want. You want them to be excited to meet you, know who you are, remember your experience, and already have this feeling of, oh, I can't wait to meet this person. I think this is the one. I think this is who I want. Maybe hopefully we can try to convince them to want to work for us. And I've had this before where I've been interviewed, and at the time I was so underqualified for this position, and they were like, well, we think you're actually overqualified. We're not sure that you really want this job, but it's not a very exciting job, but if you really want it, okay, sure. And for me, this was like a dream, amazing job. And I was so excited. And they were like, are you sure you want to work with us? We're not sure if we're that exciting or exciting enough for you because you seem so amazing, right? So I had built I had built up that preeminence where they saw me in a certain way. They saw that shine factor. They thought I was this like amazing person. And so that is what you want to build before the interview. Most of the jobs that I've actually gotten them almost before the interview. So, I didn't need to even convince them that much. And I just want you to remember this so that you build up your reputation as much as you can before you even get to that interview stage. And then once you're getting to that interview stage and you're there, of course, then there are various things you need to do. That's something I go over with my clients in our program. We practice, we make sure you're giving the very best answers. We're showcasing your value. You are letting them know, you're telling your story, right? And this is very individual to everyone, how you tell your story, how you stick to the facts that are the most impressive and not add unnecessary details, which are maybe not that interesting to those employers. This was a huge mistake that I used to make, where I have some I think it's amazing experience, right? I've worked in war zones, I've gone on missions, I've dealt in all kinds of different cultural contexts and safety contexts and just been in some wild scenarios. And I think this is like amazing experience, but guess what? The person in front of me, the employers, for them, this is a different world, and that was not something they were that interested in. So it's really important to have a third-party person, someone objective, look at your experience and help you out with almost dissecting the experience and choosing which of those pieces of experience are actually relevant for the position that you're going for. Because sometimes you might have done many, many things, but you have to be really careful to only talk about the key things that are really relevant to where you want to go. So so much more to say about interviews, but I just wanted to share that main key takeaway. There are also 10 main interview questions you need to prepare yourself for. And then once you know the answers to those questions, basically any question you get thrown at you, with those 10 questions prepared, if you can confidently answer those, you're going to be able to answer any other version of those questions that they may ask you. And then once you have that, obviously make sure you have a good follow-up strategy. So pay attention to before the interview, during, and after the interview. And that's going to help you to stand out from the other candidates. And of course, I'll just conclude, this should go without saying, but of course, have a strong career mission. Don't show up being like, oh, I'm just applied to this job and I don't know, let's see how it goes. Here's why I'm so qualified. You need that strong mission. Have your why ready. This matters so much, and it matters increasingly. Employers can tell the difference between someone with a strong why, who truly wants to work there because it's part of your mission as a human being on this planet, versus someone who's like, I want this job, I want some money, I need to work somewhere. It changes the whole energy, and they will see right through it, and you won't be an interesting candidate for them. So there you go. Good luck with your next interview. Let me know below, what was your last interview like? I love interview stories. So let me know below, what was your last interview story? How did you feel that it went for you? And I will see you in the next video.